I do want to talk about another poll here. A Wells Fargo report found that 52% of women were single in 2021. This is the highest number that America has ever seen when it comes to single women. And the number of never married women is up 20% from the last decade. Why do you think this is a trend?
I think it goes back to education. I think if I look at these two studies and look at the links between the two of them, more women achieving college degrees and then entering the workforce, there are different priorities, there are different life paths. Some things are just happening for women a little bit later than they used to. So that explains some of that. But I do think education is a big component of both of these studies.
Something that really shocked me when I read this study is the pay gap has actually increased by 3.7% from 10 years ago. And I thought we were really making strides when it comes to gender equality in the workplace. But clearly, based on these numbers, that doesn't seem to be the case.
There are a confluence of factors at play. This, again, is aggregate data. So you're looking across jobs, and there is a tendency for women to be in, I don't even want to use the words that people use, but caregiving type jobs, teaching, nursing, jobs that society undervalues. And in fact, we've seen data that when men enter these jobs, it doesn't help close the pay gaps. There's just inherent biases in a lot of the work that women do. And so overriding all of this is this systemic and perhaps unconscious bias. But there is also caregiving at home duties that play into these figures. Women can leave the workforce, not just to care for children, but to care for elderly family members. And so when you leave the workforce, that hits your earnings, and that's some of what we're seeing in this data.
Yeah, I think that's now called the sandwich generation, where when you're caring for your kids and caring for your aging parents. But I do want to kind of pivot here to what are the economic implications when it comes to single women?
The number that I really want to focus on is a difference in median net worth for never married women versus never married men. Never married women accumulate 29% less in wealth over the course of their lives in net worth than do never married men. That to me is deeply concerning because as we know from longevity data, women outlive men. So we need our money to last longer, but we're starting that journey with less of it, or we're entering the retirement journey, or we're entering later years with less of it. So I think that of all the numbers in this report is the one that really has my attention.
Why is that number so stark? I mean, I wrote down 29% with a down arrow. That is a huge amount of money lost there. Why is that so much when the never married women and never married men are arguably on the same playing field? I mean, they've never been married, but the only thing that's different is their gender.
It speaks to the wealth and pay gaps that accumulate over time. Think about it, if you have less money to invest, then that's less money earning a return over time. So the pay gap that starts from entry-level salaries, or even if it takes hold 5-10 years into someone's career, the way compound interest works, the way compound earnings work, you're compounding less money compared to more money. So that gap widens. What I would also point out too is this data kind of shows us the economic benefit of being married. There is also a figure that shows that single women now, and that is defined as folks who may be separated, divorced, or widowed, have 18% less net worth than single men. And again, these men could be divorced, widowed, separated. Why do single women have only an 18% gap compared to 29% for never married? It shows that even sharing a home with someone for a little while, splitting the cost, there's an economy of scale that happens in marriage. So if you are ever married, you benefit from that and your net worth benefits from that.
Can you dive a little deeper? What are the economic benefits here of being married?
To start off, it's the basic sharing costs, right? If you think about what percent of your budget you spend towards your housing, whether that's a mortgage or rent, now think about sharing that with someone.
Sounds great.
Doesn't it though?
Yes.
And then that carries through to every household bill. Electricity, cable if you pay for it, Wi-Fi, groceries, all of that burden is shared. And the Wells Fargo data from the single women wealth gap study also talks about healthcare costs, women paying healthcare costs. And that's just, again, an outward expenditures. There is also some, for some couples, I don't want to say all because our tax laws are complicated, but there can be a benefit to being married and filing jointly.